right, everybody, we're diving into episode 3381. This is our Friday review. Every single Friday, bringing you two brand new research studies. Well, one of them is usually brand new, literally hot off the press that I wanted to share with you. And another is always one that I want to bring back to the zeitgeist, to all of us to say, have we forgotten about this? Let's not forget about it. Let's make sure that we're doing this. If you're a practitioner, you're doing it in your practice for your patients, or also that you're sharing this with family members. So two new research studies here today. I'm going to be going over a book review. You know I love to read. It is one of my favorite things, and it's because there's just so many brilliant people out there with so many great ideas, and there's not enough lifetimes to go through all of those experiences. So books are a way to shortcut your experiences in life, hopefully getting a lot more of the positive, not making the mistakes they've made because they've kind of cleared the path, and then we get to use all of that brilliance in our own life if we choose to. All right. I've got a product review. Just a couple of weeks back, I went over a crazy study. Microplastics in chewing gum. I mean, it's unbelievable. About 3,000 particles of microplastics in chewing gum that happens within the first about 8 minutes of chewing that gum. Well, I've got alternatives for you here today. Wanted to share that. I always thought, why not, right? If you're going to share an issue and people love their chewing gum, let's give people their gum, right? We'll go back to that. All right. Before we get into those, let's go over our updates from the week. I always love to share with you what's going on, what's happening. We're rolling now into the later spring or so, kind of moving towards the summer. A lot of people following the Metabol system that you're using. They've done their spring detox. If you haven't done that, I highly recommend that. You can find out more at stephencabral.com/detox. And for Metabol, you can find that out at its previous link, which was stephencabral.com/fatlocity, all one word, and that'll take you over to Metabol. Everything's always at stephencabral.com/shop. That just takes you over to EcoLife. That is the virtual functional medicine practice where myself and my team help people from all over the world. We've been doing this now for 25 years to lose weight or gain weight, right? Transform your body, to improve your overall health and chronic-based disease, and to help you live longer, stronger. That's really what it's all about. I want that in my life, for my family. I want that for you as well. All right, let's dive into the shows that you may have missed over the week. Of course, every single day, there's a brand new, about 12 to 15-minute show. Monday's show is Don't Overcomplicate What It Takes to Be Successful. So I'll tell you right now, I know I overcomplicate things to be successful, without a doubt. I've got, a mind that likes to race. I've got a lot of thoughts that are always, swirling through my head, and more is not always better. Simpler is typically better, but simpler in the right direction. So that show, I believe, will help you to decomplicate your life right now and what it really takes to be successful. So check out that show. All these shows are at stephencabral.com/podcasts. All right, Tuesday's show is less stress and anxiety equals this one missing mineral plus one vitamin. So there's one mineral and one vitamin, and they work better together than almost anything that's been studied. So definitely check out that show. A lot of people might guess the mineral, but they're probably not going to get the vitamin unless they are an IHP. Then maybe they'll know about it ahead of time. All right. Wednesday's show is top tips to shrink your stomach and reduce appetite naturally. This is important. This is what so many people want, and I get it. I totally understand. If you shrink your stomach, most likely you're going to have less visceral body fat. I talked about that a few weeks back. That's so important for health and aging. And then reducing your appetite, just so you don't overeat, right? Again, I'm absolutely someone who's prone to overeating. I have a strong appetite. I very much enjoy food. I do try to look at food as an overall fuel source, but I grew up in an Italian and Portuguese family. We love to do the holidays, right? And all of that, and that includes a lot of food. So I get it. And, there's a time and place for everything. You can enjoy a nice little flex meal, but on a daily basis, that's not the time to be overeating. So check out that show. Yesterday's show is Science is Looking in the Wrong Place to Slow Aging. I truly believe this. All the breakthroughs most likely are not going to come where we think they are, and we're overlooking the fundamentals. I shared that on yesterday's show. Okay, today's show is episode 3381. So for the product review I'm about to go over, the book review, as well as those two research studies, head on over to stephencabral.com/3381. All right, product review this week. So I shared with you just a couple weeks back, microplastics in chewing gum. Horrible, right? Absolutely horrible. Well, they believe this, by the way, this is 5 synthetic gums they've studied, whatever it's made out of, and then 5 more natural products. that they found there were microplastics. Okay, so what I want to share with you is it seems to be, don't know for sure, we need follow-ups on this, but it seems to be the plastic wrappers, coated wrappers that the gum's wrapped in, right? So that seems to be part of the issue. Now, what I can share with you is that there are more natural forms of gum. So as you're maybe weaning off gum altogether, I don't think that we humans need to be chewing gum. If you're going to chew gum, probably the best time to do that is just directly after a meal, never between meals, like not like an hour before eating, because it tells your body that, oh, we're eating, right? So we're going to start to produce hydrochloric acid. It sends mixed signals, right? So we don't want that. But if you wanted to chew some gum directly after a meal to continue to help with that digestion for 15, 20 minutes, that's, be my guest. Enjoy. What I would say is this, though. I think we need to be just cautious overall of this. Now, I'm going to bring you some good brands, though. So one brand that is absolutely a cleaner brand, and if you're watching this on video, if you're watching this on YouTube, we appreciate you subscribing and following along. This one's called Simply Gum. You may have seen it before. It's at a lot of organic health food-based stores. And let me share with you the ingredients. Organic raw cane sugar. Now, when people hear sugar, they start to lose their minds. I totally get it. I understand, but a couple of grams of sugar, trust me, it's not going to spike your blood sugar at all. When I was looking at the diabetic-based studies, it was essentially anything under 7-8 grams you weren't going to see really a spike in blood sugar. But anyway, I digress. You're also eating this after a meal. Those 2 grams are essentially not going to just fly through your system and spike your blood sugar. All right. But anyway, I digress. All right, and that's on 2 pieces, not even 1. If you only want 1 gram of sugar, you can do that. So then it's natural chicle base. So chicle is basically like a tree sap and like a resin, and that can be potentially healthy for your teeth and your digestive system. All right, peppermint oil is your flavoring, and then organic vegetable glycerin, which is a natural preservative. So it's either that or some type of alcohol they'll put in. Or organic rice flour to hold it together. So that's it. Those are the ingredients: chicle, raw cane sugar, peppermint oil, vegetable glycerin, and organic flour. You can see the box right here. Why am I saying that this might be, again, maybe okay? Because when you look in it, they put all the wrappers in the back. So you don't have to wrap it in the wrapper. They actually give you wrappers to wrap them individually if you're on the go. I don't think you want to use those. I think that's where some of these microplastics are coming from. So when you look in, it's actually a cardboard box. And inside, you'll just see all the individual pieces of gum, not wrapped specifically, but just kind of all sitting there. And it looks like there's, maybe about 16 pieces or so of gum. So those little wrappers are post-gum chews. I just saw that on the package. So again, I don't chew gum, but I wanted to give you a couple brands that you could take a look at. My wife knows about these probably far more than I do. This is peppermint flavor. It is Simply Gum. Check that out instead of the individually wrapped ones. Again, there's no affiliation with these brands. This one right here is called Larinco, or it could be a different pronunciation. Your pronunciation of this is as good as mine. Larineco is remineralizing gum. So this gum's a little bit more expensive, and I believe my wife wanted to give them a shot. Let me share with you what it contains: organic xylitol, organic erythritol, organic chicle. Everything's organic, so I'm just going to not say organic over and over. So xylitol, erythritol, chicle, mastic gum, again, good for the gut, spruce and myrrh, acacia gum, spearmint flavor, and then some of the remineralizing. So nanohydroxyapatite, the natural calcium bentonite clay, organic eggshell powder. They've got natural terpene blends, and that's it. So that is all of it. It says that it is synthetic free, non-GMO, and plastic free. So again, a box with individual pieces inside. Some people have had, a couple negative things to say about this company. I'll tell you this. I don't believe everything in that I read online, so I like to give companies the benefit of the doubt. Some people are just not happy. They're just not happy people. Again, I have no affiliation with this company, and also companies are allowed to make mistakes, and then they just have to try to get better. So this company may have had some issues in the past. Maybe the gum was falling apart a little bit more. It was a little bit dry. I gave it a shot myself. Again, I'm not a gum chewer. I chewed it up. It tasted fine. Again, it's a natural gum. It didn't fall apart in my mouth. No big deal. So what I want to share with you is that there are typically always alternatives to some of these nastier based companies that are infusing liquid microplastics. Again, look for the cardboard box, look for no individual microplastics. I will link up both of these brands, but again, you can do your research on microplastics as well. All right. There we have it. Non or at least low microplastic based gum alternatives. All right, let me share with you book pick of the week. I look back, I hadn't shared this book yet. I have so many books. It is a bit absurd. And so when I'm always trying to think of, what's relevant, what would be helpful, what book would I want shared with me, especially if I was trying to, improve, always do my best, any of those things, this would probably be one of those books. It really would. So if you've never heard of Robin Sharma, he's written a bunch of great books. So he wrote The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, and he also was the author of the 5 a.m. Club. I've read both of those books. They're good books. I like them. The 5 a.m. Club is not as pertinent as it was maybe, I don't know if he wrote that a decade ago, but a while ago when it was more, there was a little bit more maybe of the hustle mentality, especially pre-COVID. And so it doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. And also it doesn't mean that you need to sacrifice sleep or wake up at 5 a.m. It could be moved to like the 6 a.m. club if you wanted, but it's basically, it was self-care, take care of yourself before you then head off to the rest of the world, taking care of family. And I still believe that to this day. I always wake up an hour to an hour and a half before my other responsibilities start. And I do that simply because I want to be able to be of as much service as I can to my family, that includes my wife and my kids, to anyone else, extended family, to my private clients, to my work teams, to the world, to teaching, all of those things. But if I don't get any of the me time, it always feels like that I'm just burning out. But if I can center myself for the beginning of that day, then I have so much more to give. So it's really not selfish. It is take care of you so that you can better take care of others. That's the truth. So that's the 5 a.m. Club. So that's still worth reading too. Maybe I'll review that one in depth in the future, but I wanted to review the book called the Everyday Hero Manifesto. Again, I'll probably have Robin on the show one day. I think he's a great author, and I want to start doing interviews again in the future. But what I'll say is that I don't know that I love the title, the Everyday Hero Manifesto, only because it probably doesn't maybe speak to everybody. But for me, it's like, how do you become the hero in your own life? And I think that's more of, what he was saying through this title, because this book is excellent. So that's what I'm saying. Over the Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, and Over the 5 a.m. Club, this is the book I would pick by Robin Sharma if you haven't read one of his books yet. This book is excellent. It's short chapters, which I love. I think a lot of people love short chapters. It's just punchy. It keeps you going. You can read again for that 10 pages a day, and this book would be done in a month, right? Yeah, 341 pages. So it's just like, it's very simple. What's it on? Well, I highlighted a page for you, and this is what the book is on. So it's the 8 forms, essentially, of wealth, like how to get better in all different areas of your life. When people hear wealth, they automatically think of money. That's only one area. I wouldn't say the wealthiest people in terms of money are the happiest people. I have multiple billionaire clients, and it's not that they're not happy. They are, but not all of their life's areas, I think, are as well balanced. So anyway, let me share this with you. Self-mastery, that's number 1. Health, number 2. Now, these aren't in particular order, but I'm just sharing with you kind of the wheel, the 8 forms of wealth: self-mastery, health, family, craft, prosperity, mentors, adventure, and impact. I love these. Not everybody has these as part of it, but these have always been part of my life. Like, I am someone that definitely has a calling to adventure. I like adventure. I like experiencing new things. I like growth. A lot of people, they don't. That's not really their thing. They like, status quo is not the right word. They like to know what is coming next, right? So they don't like unpredictability. I like a little unpredictability. My family knows, my wife knows, like, birthdays, trips, even just like, oh, where are we going to dinner? Like, it's like, surprise me. I just like a little bit of that. I know that that's kind of crazy to say, but those are all things that we try to find a little bit of that in life. Impact is a big one for me. Just like doing whatever I can. I've been impacted by so many great people and mentors. I want to say, hey, how can I use some of that? How can I share my knowledge with others? So These are great. I mean, this is really, it's an excellent book. I mean, short chapters, as I said. It goes over a lot of the 5 a.m. club principles as well. So worth reading. If you haven't checked it out, you could read this book with just 10 pages a day in 1 month. Take notes, but also try to live it. That's what these books are all about. I'm trying to bring you books that will enhance your life. Because people always ask, can you just share with me the one health book that I can follow? Well, there isn't that one, right? Because it's like, are you going to read one book on investing, one book on taxes, and like know how to do your taxes? Probably not, right? So it's like we do all of these things to get better, but then also try to find a coach, try to find a mentor, try to find someone that's going to help you in that direction. All right. So the Everyday Hero Manifesto, Robin Sharma, check it out. I'll link it up here today. We've got 2 research studies for you. The first one is out of Wash U Medicine, and this one literally just came out 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. Okay. So researchers found, this is really interesting. Researchers found that a small population of immune cells in the mouse intestines prevents allergic responses to food, suggesting that targeting such cells therapeutically could potentially lead to a new treatment for allergens. Check this out though, because this is something that was new to me. And so I always want to be able to share things that are new to me and I find very fascinating. So food allergens are different than food sensitivities, but they could work potentially together in the future. So let me share this and then talk about what that actually means. So tolerance to food involves multiple immune cells. Certain immune cells pick up food particles, chop them into fragments, and present them to the immune system's T cells, instructing those cells to remain unresponsive to the harmless intruder. More recently, a small population of cells, these are called orphan receptor cells, plus dendritic cells, have been found among the gut's presenting immune cells in multiple species. When scientists removed, I'm going to read a direct quote verbatim. When scientists removed the organ receptor sites plus dendritic cells from the gut in mice, we broke tolerance to food allergens, said Rodriguez. The discovery is now inspiring us to see if we can do the opposite, prevent food allergies by supporting the activity of this cell population. Because orphan receptor cells plus dendritic cells are found in people, our finding presents an exciting new possibility to manage food allergies and other gut-related immune diseases such as celiac disease or inflammatory bowel disease. Okay, so what does all of that mean? Basically, inside of our cells, most likely they were talking about the small intestine, but again, I won't infer things until we get to the research. But when you're looking at your intestines, let me show you a model. So we got my buddy Walter here. So when we consume food, it moves down the esophagus, it moves through the stomach, and then it moves into this 20-foot squiggly lines here. So if you're watching this on video, this is the small intestine. So that's the duodenum, and then it's the jejunum, and then it's the ileum, and then the ileum moves into the large intestine. That has 3 parts as well. I won't go over all of that here today. But what that means is that inside of these intestines lie these other organ receptor sites plus dendritic cells that present foods as either harmful or not harmful to the intestines. And what they're going to try to do is maybe through bacteria or other things, maybe you need different types of bacteria in the gut. Okay, they're going to hopefully reprogram those cells to then tell the immune system, the T cells, that these are not harmful foods, don't have an anaphylactic reaction when someone eats peanuts, right? Or strawberries or fish or something like that. So this is really exciting science. I love to see these things. My prediction, because this doesn't happen fast, but 15, 20 years. I know that seems like a super long way away. I totally get it. It's kind of ridiculous. I understand these things just take a while, but food allergies could be a thing of the past. Wouldn't that be remarkable, right? 20 years from now. That's pretty remarkable. All right, that's the first study that I wanted to bring to you, cutting edge. And then this one, saw this study kind of re-brought up. You know, I'm a huge advocate of omega-3s. Why? Because there's really very few other products. On one hand, I can name the number of nutritional supplements, which, by the way, come from food, that there are around 30,000 plus positive studies on. And omega-3s are one of those. That's why, you know, the science is very strong. So people that are just looking to make a name for themselves on social media by being a contrarian, that's fine, but they're hurting people because it's not 100, but like 99.9 out of 100 people would benefit from them, from about around 2 grams per day. If you eat 150, 200 plus grams of protein a day, mainly from meat, you could probably do better with 3 grams. But anyway, so here's some of the amazing science on it. EPA, that's one part of omega-3. So there's EPA and DHA. Again, we were one of the first people to recommend this. Double the EPA of DHA. A lot of people say it doesn't matter. It matters. When you work in a clinical practice, that's the amazing thing, is you don't need to just read the scientific papers. You should, but you get to see what's working really in practice. Like, that's the amazing thing. So if we run over 100,000 functional medicine lab tests a year just with individuals, right? So then that's hundreds of thousands. What we get to see is what's actually working. And I can tell you for sure, then double the EPA to the DHA works. And now they're finding that it's essentially comparable to aspirin. Is it exactly like aspirin? No. But here's what it says. EPA reduces platelet aggregation, which leads to blood clots. Amazing. So naturally, from high omega-3 fish or omega-3 supplementation, the ones that we use is called daily omega-3 support. Okay. That could be comparable to aspirin in improving blood clots. Fantastic. What else does it do? It alters the composition of cell membranes and reduces the production of something called thromboxane A2, a compound that promotes clotting. That's how it works. Aspirin works in the same exact way by inhibiting thromboxane A2, but via the COX-1 inhibition. A little bit stronger, meaning like in a different way, a little harsher on the body. That's why we know that aspirin could lead to stomach ulcers or internal bleeding or things like that. You're probably not going to get that with omega-3s, meaning like it doesn't happen. All right. Much more natural way. I'm not radically against aspirin. I don't want to say that. But if we can do a more natural version, why not? Right? Why wouldn't we want to do that? All right. The last thing is this, EPA increasing production of resolvins and prostacyclin, which are anti-inflammatory and anti-clotting. So not only do you get the anti-clotting, you get the anti-inflammatory. We know it helps with healthy levels of cholesterol, healthy levels of blood sugar, and healthy levels of blood pressure. So for most people, again, I can't provide medical advice, medical treatment, medical cures, medical diagnosis. Most people, one of the things they are missing is 2 grams a day of omega-3s. That's the truth. Now you just want to find a mercury-free one and then double the EPA to DHA. The one that I've been using now for a decade is daily omega-3 support by Equilife. I formulate it. I third-party tested. I know it's clean. My wife gets it. My family gets it. And it's what I use in my private practice. You use whatever you feel comfortable with. But again, always check those labels. Check in with the company. The one I use at StephenCabral.com/shop. That just takes you over to Equilife. And that's it. If there's any questions, let me know. Great science, great research. Love the book of the week. And I'll link them all up at StephenCabral.com/3381. Take care. Have an amazing start to your weekend if you're listening to this on Friday. And of course, I'll be back each and every weekend with our Cabral House Calls. Talk with you then. Thanks so much for tuning into today's show. Before you go, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I want to make sure that you're getting our daily content, not missing out on anything. Functional medicine, wellness, weight gain, weight loss, anti-aging, living longer, stronger, and all of the most cutting-edge research. And if there's any topics you want to hear, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Take care.